Welcome back, and today we have another week of box office. Make sure to like, sub, comment, and follow me on Instagram. Let's get into the video. Up first, we have & Juliet, 96% last week and 858K. This week, 94% and 662K for 7 performances. It's lost more money than it's made money in the year of 2026, and again, I feel like these 8s are more blips than consistencies. I think it's more consistently in the 6s and the 7s, under 800K, and that's ultimately a bad sign for this musical, and why I think it will close in 2026. But again, it could turn around and continue to do amazing for years to come. But personally, I think the way that I've seen its box office decline from 2024 to now makes me think that, they are starting to lose momentum, and they are relying more on stunt casting, with D'Amelio coming in about 2 years ago. It has recouped its investment. It's been here for many years, so it does take a while for a musical of that status to close, and that's why it didn't close in 2025, and why it's not even going to close in the early 2026 months. But I firmly believe that this is their new normal, and that new normal is simply not sustainable for any musical, thus they will close relatively soon. And by relatively soon, I mean like in the next year and a half. Vista Social Club, 100% last week and 1,064,809, 95% this week and 820K. And so it did lose money this week, I think, but it's done fantastic so far in 2026. And of course, the snowstorm has affected a lot of the musicals, and that's why there were 7 performances. Though again, the weather was pretty phenomenal from Tuesday to Saturday night. So I mean, they have a bit of leeway, but it was only bad weather, Sunday night. And a lot of things canceled then. And then Chess, 95% last week and 1,588,42, and 79% this week and 785K. Leo was out this week, and the snowstorm affected both. I think we're all seeing now that Leah is in fact the main purpose for people coming in to see it. I think Aaron Tveit, has star power, but I think that's when it's coupled with a female star. In the case of Sutton Foster, Lea Michele, although again, he did do Moulin Rouge multiple times, and that was without a big female star in it, so again, that might be because it is that big musical, and it was new, and this is kind of culty, and, for a musical that got pretty bad, responses from people, and people don't like this revival, it's doing pretty solid. Death Becomes Her, 95% last week, and 1,186,365, 87% this week, and 984K. Again, they've had a pretty weird 2026. They've lost more money than they've made money, unfortunately. Obviously, last week they were able to make $1 million, but they have been going into the 900K area. And again, most musicals should be able to do 900K and be successful, but in the case of Death Becomes Her, they have a weekly operating cost of $1 million, meaning they can't do many weeks of under $1 million before they go under, and then they close. Now, again, I think that this is going to be here for many more years to come. The backing, the fact that it has done so well, it can take these hits. I do believe that it will go back into the $1 million plus club come, springtime and the summertime. But again, I think it goes to show that these big musicals need to find a way to manage their budget, because these numbers, the fact that 984K is not sustainable is a bigger indictment on the industry than on the musical itself. Hadestown sold out 1,155,648 last week and 1,142,966. And can we be having a round of applause for Hadestown for doing so well, despite it being here for almost 10 years? And I do think that, 2023, it was going to close, but I think they kept it, in people's minds by having big names come in and having now Mr. Wolf come in. Mr. Wolf is very attractive. But again, I don't think I think he might get at the level of Matthew Morrison, a Jonathan Groff, but I don't think he's there yet. So I don't want to overestimate his star power, but he is a very valuable too. And if I were a producer, I would be getting him into my next new original musical. Hell's Kitchen, 97% last week and 1,225,129, 98% this week and 1,438,730. Just in Time sold out both weeks, 1,462,000. 1,552,780, and this week 1,508,60. And Matthew Morrison is coming in for a limited time for, I believe, only like 20-something performances. But I do think he will bring box office. Finding Neverland, even though that was 11 years ago, still did very fantastic numbers. Although again, as time went on, it fell under 1 million, but for this limited time, I think that Matthew will sustain over 1 million, and I do think that Jeremy Jordan will as well. I think the big thing is who's going to be the replacement after those two, because this is not a part that like some big celebrity can play and that's going to be easy. It's a hard part, and that's going to make it harder for them to get big names, and without big names, as we saw when Groff was out, it doesn't do well. Maybe Happy Ending, 98% last week and 1,223,896. 96% this week and 1,014,151. Moulin Rouge, 99% last week and 1,211,496. 98% this week and 1,049,867. Mincemeat had its final week with the OG cast. 99% for both weeks and 1,107,825 this week, with an average ticket of 175 and a top ticket of 975. Crazy. Now again, it is relatively inexpensive to put on, and again, even with the OG cast, Mincemeat still had some struggling weeks where they did, 500K, 600K, and ideally Mincemeat doesn't want to go below 650K, 630K at the lowest. So let me know if you think that the OG cast leaving is going to affect the box office. I don't think it will, from a huge amount, but it might affect it a little bit. But again, I think that even with those, actors in it, it still was doing, mediocre 500, 600K. Ragtime, 100% last week and 1,166,564. 99% this week and 1,127,258. And I do wonder if Lincoln Center will extend it past the summer. And I kind of think I would risk it for the biscuit. The landscape is so unpredictable, but it's working, and revivals typically have like a 1-year limit, and then they start to fall off, and I could see this falling off heavily, but screw it. Maybe that doesn't happen, and you have a long-running revival, and it doesn't have any big names in it. And it is so interesting that this production that has gotten very mixed responses is also doing super well. But I do think that that musical has that feverish cult fan base of a Parade or the last 5 years, and the Lincoln Center audience who subscribe to the Lincoln Center like this more than something like Floyd Collins. 85% last week and 752K, 83% and 697K. So it didn't lose money for either week, but again, it was not doing super hot, and again, I do think it will close sometime this year because, it's been here for a long time, it's recouped, it's done extremely well, so it takes a while, but I do think this is the new norm as we're seeing with the numbers, and that does mean I think 6 will close, maybe not at the beginning of 26, but maybe end of 26, early 2027. Stranger Things sold out for 7 performances and 1,584,338. The Great Gatsby, 95% last week and 1,268,200 to 93% this week and 1,147,292. So the camera quality is different. My camera died, but as I was saying, The Great Gatsby did very solid numbers this week. But again, I do wonder what's going to happen when Eva and Reeve come into the show in about a month from now, I think. Again, I think they're not going to be able to sustain that 1.1 million that's needed for Gatsby to survive. Again, it's that same thing of like big operating weekly costs or weekly operating costs being so expensive that, Gatsby, Death Becomes Her, they should be allowed to do 900K, high 800s, and be okay, but that's not the case. And I think that for Gatsby, I think that those two are not going to maybe do it at the beginning, but I feel like they're more going to be 8s and the occasional 7, the occasional million, and I don't know if that's going to be enough. Again, they've done pretty solid from November till now, so they can take those hits. And if they can get a big star, and again, that's kind of like maybe like can, like again, it depends. They could save it in 2026, in the second half of 2026. The Outsiders, 100% last week and 1,227,793, 97% this week and 1,059,260, and then Two Strangers, 92% last week and 760K, and 77% this week and 601K. A bit low for that. fall of 159K, but again, its operating costs are 498K, so it is doing absolutely fine. So let me know what you think about this week's box office. Like, sub, comment, follow me on Instagram, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.